Ever found yourself stuck in a supermarket aisle, unable to decide which cereal to buy because there are just too many options? You're not alone. Imagine being in a world where every decision you make, from the trivial to the significant, is met with an overwhelming number of choices. It's like standing in front of an endless supermarket aisle, filled with a dizzying array of options. This scenario illustrates a phenomenon that psychologists refer to as decision paralysis. Interestingly, decision paralysis is not caused by the lack of choices, but by too many of them. It's a predicament that many of us find ourselves in, thanks to our modern society's obsession with variety and options. This leads us to a psychological concept known as the paradox of choice. Although variety and options are generally seen as good, they can also lead to dissatisfaction and stress when making decisions. The paradox of choice is a concept that suggests that while we might think variety is good when it comes to making decisions, we might actually be worse off. So why does having too many options lead to decision paralysis? Let's dive into the psychology behind it. When presented with a multitude of choices, our brains go into overdrive, trying to evaluate each option and its potential outcomes. This cognitive overload can cause stress and anxiety as we want to make the best choice possible, but the sheer volume of options can be overwhelming. Picture yourself in a candy store with rows and rows of delicious sweets. You can only choose one. The joy of selection quickly turns into a daunting task as you try to decide which one will provide the ultimate satisfaction. This scenario is a microcosm of the paradox of choice. The abundance of options can lead to decision paralysis, where we're so overwhelmed by the choices at hand that we struggle to make any decision at all. But the psychological impact of too many choices doesn't stop at decision paralysis. Once we've made our choice, we often find ourselves questioning if we made the right decision. We wonder if one of the other options would have been better. This is known as the what-if phenomenon, and it can lead to dissatisfaction and regret over the choices we make. Consider this: after finally choosing a candy, you take a bite only to find it's not as sweet as you imagined. You start to think, what if I had chosen that other candy? Would it have been sweeter, more satisfying? This regret over our decisions, this constant questioning, can make us less satisfied with our choices, even if they were good ones. Our brains are wired to seek the best, but when we're faced with too many options, this desire can backfire. Instead of reveling in the abundance of choice, we become trapped in a cycle of stress, decision paralysis, and regret. The paradox of choice can affect all aspects of our lives, from the small daily decisions like what to wear or what to eat, to the bigger life decisions like what career to pursue or who to marry. The more options we have, the more we worry about making the wrong choice, and the less satisfied we are with the choices we do make. Remember the hit TV series The Good Place? It perfectly demonstrates the paradox of choice. Let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? In this show, the characters find themselves in an afterlife where they can have anything they want. It sounds like paradise, right? But it's not as simple as it seems. Our main characters, Eleanor, Chidi, Tahani, and Jason, each grapple with the overwhelming number of choices available to them. They can eat any food, live in any kind of house, and do anything they want. But instead of finding joy in this limitless freedom, they often feel overwhelmed and dissatisfied. Chidi, a moral philosophy professor, is the perfect example. He finds himself paralyzed by indecision, even in the most mundane situations. In the real world, he once spent over 90 minutes choosing a muffin because there were just too many options. In The Good Place, his indecision is magnified 1,000-fold. It's a humorous yet poignant illustration of the paradox of choice. Eleanor, Tahani, and Jason also struggle with dissatisfaction. They have everything they could ever want, but they still feel a sense of emptiness. This dissatisfaction, this sense of never having enough, is another manifestation of the paradox of choice. Just like in The Good Place, having too many options can leave us feeling overwhelmed and unsatisfied. This paradox isn't just confined to TV shows. It's a reality that we all grapple with in our everyday lives. So how can we overcome decision paralysis and become more satisfied with our choices? Here are a few strategies. First up, let's talk about limiting choices. It might sound counterintuitive, but try reducing the number of options you're considering at any one time. Instead of going through an endless list of possibilities, focus on a handful of promising options. This strategy can help to prevent overwhelm and make the decision-making process more manageable. Next, focus on what's important. It's easy to get lost in the sea of trivialities when presented with a multitude of options. Instead, identify what truly matters to you in the context of the decision you're making. What are your key priorities? What are your non-negotiables? By focusing on what's important, you can sift through the noise and hone in on the options that align with your values and goals. Another critical strategy is learning to be satisfied with good enough. Perfectionism can be a major culprit in decision paralysis. We often get stuck because we're striving for the absolute best option. But the reality is, the best is often elusive and subjective. Instead, aim for good enough. This doesn't mean settling for less, but rather recognizing that an option doesn't need to be perfect to be the right choice. Remember, it's okay to make mistakes. Decisions are often a learning process. Even if you don't make the perfect choice, you're still gaining valuable insights and experiences. So, embrace the possibility of making a wrong decision. It's not the end of the world, but rather an opportunity for growth and learning. Finally, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness can help you to stay present and avoid spiraling into anxiety over future outcomes. By remaining present, you can make decisions based on what's happening now, rather than being influenced by hypothetical future scenarios. Remember, more choices aren't always better. Sometimes less is more. Embrace the beauty of simplicity and find satisfaction in making decisions that align with your core values and goals. Overcoming decision paralysis is not an overnight process, but with these strategies, you're well on your way. In the end, it's all about finding a balance. We've journeyed through the paradox of choice, exploring its psychological impact, and even took a detour through the good place. The key takeaway: too many options can overwhelm us, leading to decision paralysis and dissatisfaction. But by understanding this paradox, we can manage it, simplifying our choices and improving our overall satisfaction. So next time you're stuck in that cereal aisle, remember, it's not about finding the best option, it's about finding the right option for you.